had a couple of historic windows, and we were missing one more.
It's 1815 to 1830, roughly, built by a Leeming, well, the Leeming family married into the Spicer family, and that's how, and it was actually Spicer Leeming who we believe built the house, but in that time frame. But we're still a little puzzled by the treatment of the wall here, because this to me is, you know, this is not 1815, this looks earlier to me, and maybe he reused things from an earlier house.
Except for it looks like an earlier skeleton, there was no sign that it had been reworked like the houses here are commonly done.
Right.
And so it's almost guaranteed it's an early 19th century house built in an earlier style.
Very
Except
traditional
for
style.
if you look at these, if you look at the way the ceiling joists are laid, I'm going to tell
How
you
they're
this.
let in? Yeah.
How they're let in. Of all of maybe 70 houses that Joan looked at, one of them, a 1708 highly decorated house in Upper Township, has tuss tenons. The only place we've seen tuss tenons, and they go out of style in Britain. You know, in the like by mid 1700s, you don't see them in Britain anymore. We have what we do have in this county are butt cogs, just notched and dropped in,
Right.
or we have a common tenon. Just a plain tenon sinking in there, but these actually have a taper on them, like your boy Cummings would call it a haunch, a diminished haunch.
Early 1800s for Cape May County with the chair rail, smaller, just a heating fireplace. That was reconstructed. Jamie,
The mantelpiece?
that's original.
That's nice.
Jamie, when you reconstructed the fireplace here, did you followed what was here, right? Because you weren't following the mantel?
The second floor, when this building was moved here 30 years ago, the second floor not only wasn't finished off for public display, but the attic boards had been cannibalized for the country store, I believe.
Okay.
They took
That's
the,
what it was.
fortunately that, with a bare, falling plaster and panel walls, bare stud walls upstairs, that mantel was leaning against, the original mantel was leaning against the wall for 30 years. Never got thrown away.
Upstairs, yeah.
Yeah, this mantel was leaning against the wall upstairs. So both fireplaces had been corrected, if you will. This one had been enclosed by Victorians. They actually used an early piece of railroad
Railroad, yeah.
railroad rail for the lintel.
Really? Well, I guess it's strong, that's
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
strong.
Yeah.
So they reduced it in size. Then when it was moved here, competent masons, but modern masons,
Right.
corrected them. Redid the fireplaces. They put raised hearths like Germans in Pennsylvania have, unlike Dutch and English have flush with the floor always.
Right.
So that had been reduced about 40%. This one, the same deal. It had been reduced. With new material inside.
Okay.
We didn't redo the hearth for economic reasons. We left what they had left,
Right.
and but we didn't even have to guess on the original. The original fireplace is there. It was just faced over. We busted out the new work and the remnants of the original box and rebuilt it. We didn't even have to guess on the size because we know that all of our fireplaces here. You see the tapered edges.
Mm-hmm.
You see bricks made out of square, so you have a flush face there. And the early doors all have the rim latches that we find in after the Revolution, but
Right.
Until around 1820s. Not rim locks, or not the later Victorian rim
The
locks.
boxes, right.
Rim latches. They're all missing in this house, but again, you only see them around here in from the Revolution. Early 1800s, and then they disappear.
Until the Norfolk latch comes in. Here you can see the axe or the adze marks
Yep,
on
right along.
the end.
Even the ceiling joists are hand hewn here. Downstairs,
Right.
You can see it here.
they're hand hewn and
See the
resawed.
marks
Right.
on the bottom?
They're hand hewn and resawed, the same deal.
But they're very, very nicely done. Right.
This house, he went out of his way. Usually the winding stairs go up alongside of the chimney stack.
Right.
For this domestic side of the house, he went out of his way to make a bigger stairwell, even bringing it up over the firebox. The chimney stack is about that far, that flue is about that far from the wall, the steps.
Right.
And he went out of his way to come up over top of the box, and usually they just go up alongside of the box with a winder. He's over top of the box here to get more room for bringing furniture up. They're the master bedroom, your best room. It's the narrowest, about the most dangerous stairs I've ever seen. And it's the opposite of what you'd expect. Goshen had multiple blacksmiths. They're not only supplying farm needs, but also probably more so shipbuilding needs.
Shipbuilding.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
And when he built his blacksmith shop, he took timbers from other buildings.
Did he really?
Oh, yeah. Yep, you'll, look this one here. You can see it's got a pocket
Yeah, something
for the,
slide in.
maybe from a barn. Yeah, it might have been the nailer. A lot of his stuff came from somewhere else.
And this is 1860s?
60 something, mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
great
it's-
collection of blacksmithing tools. I mean, obviously, awesome swage blocks. And,
And I'm pretty sure all this had to be rebuilt when I don't think this was still in the building. Do you know, Jim?
I believe that was rebuilt, yeah.
Yeah. And I think when they got the building, I don't think it still had its original hearth
No.
or anything in it.
it was probably used as a garage.
Probably.
Yeah, it's about the right size.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Perfect for a garage.
The bellows are great. And I guess they look like they're cobbled together from some older ones.
Don't know. I don't know how he.
I think mice tend to go for the leather and
Yeah,
the
we had the canvas redone just a few years ago.
And half brick floor to protect you from sparks, which is why the building survives today.
Right. Yeah, it helps, doesn't it?
Now that we've taken a look at some of the buildings around here, and we've discussed various aspects of what went on in them, the people that built them, their architectural significance, what are some of your thoughts on the differences between the architecture of central and northern New Jersey and here in Cape May County? What's similar and what's dramatically different?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question, Jim. There are some really significant differences. One thing is you have a lot of early buildings here that in parts of central New Jersey we just don't have because so much more urbanized at this point. So the survival of something like Cox Hall is truly, truly a miracle. The framing is also really interesting. I mean, it's so reminiscent of New England. You would think you're in Rhode Island or Long Island or even up in Massachusetts. And we see more of a Dutch influence, I would say, in this central part of the state, where you get sort of hybrid buildings that are sort of half Dutch and that you get these H-bents that are very Dutch, but you also get a lot of English features as well. So I think Cape May is incredible for its survival of early buildings, and often we think of Cape May and we think of resort hotels in the 19th century, but these earlier buildings are really spectacular, and they really harken back to a time period that isn't well represented in too many other parts of the state.
That's a good point you make. So many people, when they think of this area, their first thought is Victorian-era Cape May City, and they don't realize the significance of so many of the other buildings that we have here and what went on elsewhere. What can you two add to this as experts on Cape May County architecture?
Well, I guess when I was writing the book, that's what people would say. I'd say, oh, I'm writing a book about the early architecture of Cape May County. Oh, you're writing about the Victorian buildings in Cape May City. I said, no, much earlier than that. And many people are surprised to learn that there are so many buildings here. I've identified at least 35 that date before 1730, and they're still standing. Granted, a lot of them have been altered over the years, but once you can peel away like an onion some of those later alterations and additions, you can find some pretty interesting things here.